Please put your hands together for Roblox Head of Developer Community, Jay Party.
Robloxians of all ages, developers of all stages, welcome to the Roblox Developers Conference 2021. I'm your host, Jay Party, and I'm here to take you on a journey as we go inside the fold of Roblox to learn about its past, its present, and its future. But let's remember why we're actually here. It's to honor all of you, the creators whose imagination makes it possible. So thanks for showing up today, each and every one of you in person and at home. You just heard from the man himself, the founder and CEO of Roblox, an architect of the metaverse. We know him as Builder Man, but let's put our hands together one last time to thank David Baszucki for putting it all together. All right, folks, but the show doesn't stop here. The keynotes are still rolling. So coming up next, we've got a new speaker to the RDC family. That's right, but he's a tech phenom whose alma mater includes schools like Cornell and Urbana-Champaign. He's got a PhD in computer science, and he's held such lofty titles as VP of Engineering at Google and VP of Engineering at Cloudera. But now he has his loftiest title of all as he joins the Roblox family to make our technological dreams a reality. Rumor is he's always got a plan, but I know him simply as Dan the Man. So let's put our hands together for our Chief Technology Officer, Dan Sturman.
It's so good to meet all of you. I'm the King's Happy Fool, also known as Dan Sturman, and as Jay Party just said, I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Roblox. I've been at Roblox since about January 2020, so I joined just in time for us all to get hit by COVID, which means this is my first in-person RDC, and I'm just so excited to be here. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, or as many of you as I possibly can. So please don't be shy. Come up and introduce yourself. I would love to meet you, hear your stories, hear what you're doing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take us through the tech at Roblox. We're going to do this in 3 parts. We're going to talk about what we delivered in the past year. We're going to talk about things that we haven't yet delivered, and then we're going to also talk about where the future is going. Some of the stuff Dave touched on, I'll give you a few more details on what that's going to look like. So with no further ado, we're going to start with what we promised we will ship. Let's get the slides here. OK, there we go. We'll promise we shipped and what we actually did ship. So with that, let's talk about surface appearance. This is just like one of my, I think, coolest features. You now have the ability to ship your own physics-based rendering materials, really give you that sort of realism that you see in that car in the middle there. It's pretty fantastic looking. Allows you to do those sorts of things. Kind of along the same lines of just realism, we've been working on this journey around lighting called The Future is Bright. And we're in phase 3 of it now, and we've launched that, where we really focused on pixel-perfect lighting and shadows. You can see the before and after here, and just how realistic that gets. This is from the Visitech demo Roblox has done. I think that's pretty cool. High-quality terrain transitions. You can see the difference right away. In the before, we just kind of did this fake little hacky merge of the terrains, which kind of worked. But now we're really respecting the texture and materials in those terrains that we're merging. You can see that snow blending almost like perfectly into the cracks in the brick in the picture. Yeah, pretty cool, right? OK, so cutout alpha support. We used to call this properly sorted vegetation. That was a little bit narrow. But basically, before cutouts, if you wanted to create a silhouette, it was kind of a hack, using transparency and then alpha for the degree of transparency. It kind of worked, but it gave you really unexpected artifacts, as you kind of can see over on the right there. So we basically reworked that. We have a new approach. It eliminates those artifacts, makes it much easier to create trees, vegetation, even hair, right? And you can kind of see the effects here. I really love that. OK, so last year at RDC, we asked you guys, what fonts do you most want on the platform? And we've released 25 new fonts based on all that feedback. So as you can see here, it's just a huge variety of fonts. Not all the ones you want. I'll talk about more in a little bit. But I think a huge improvement on what you can do with text. Rich text. So along the same lines, you can now use markup. You can change your color. You can change your size. You can bold it, italics, underline. Really a lot more flexibility in how you present text within your experience. And automatic sizing. So this allows proper behavior when you scale a parent UI element. It's great for, as you can see in the far left, and on the bottom here, as you scale things, you just get the behavior that you would expect. It's just straightforward. It's also great when we talk about international and the ability to take localized strings in another language and make sure it all just fits without you having to custom fit that for each and every case, with which the number of languages we're doing is going to be pretty much impossible. So we do that for you. Proximity prompts. So you all know what this is. It's the ability your character's running around. You get an event. We can handle special cases. Then it also triggers actions based on user input in response to that. Great examples are opening doors, as we're showing here, pulling a lever, picking up or pulling on special items. So moving a bit away from the game engine itself, Dave touched on this, data store limit growth. So before, we were limited to basically these 200 kilobyte items. It meant for anything large, developers had to go and split their items across multiple keys. Very hacky. We didn't like that. We've upped that to 4 megabytes now. I'm sure you guys are creative enough to come up with things that don't fit within 4 megabytes. So we'll keep pushing that. But it really does dramatically increase the number of cases where things just fit in the data store, and you don't have to worry about it. Right? Yeah. And thanks for the applause there. I think sometimes the folks working on the back end don't feel the same love as when you're making beautiful graphics on the front end. So they'll appreciate that. Data Store version 2. So this launched literally this week, I think 2 days ago. Engineering time bringing it in right under the wire there. But basically, the big thing here is the automatic time-based versioning. You can see that on the slide. So you have a version 1, version 2, version 3. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. I'm rolling it back for whatever reason. But we're also adding some really cool things. So you can list data stores by game and keys by collection. You can add your metadata to it, so specific attributes on stored data. And then you can filter data based on that. So a lot more flexibility in Data Stores v2. Right? Memory Store is an entire new back-end system. And unlike data stores, which focus on resilience, this is based on being magnitudes faster, read-write access, really high throughput, and global, right? So the idea here is that you can do things like global matchmaking, universal live leaderboards, a global marketplace. You can see Islands here using it for their leaderboard. Very, very cool as an intro here. This is a new feature and a new direction we're going in, a completely new system. I am curious, show of hands, how many of you might use this, let's say, over the next 8 months or something like that, right? Wow, quite a lot of you. I'm glad we put it out there. Awesome. Script editor, always trying to make this better. You can see right here the before and after on the syntax and semantic highlighting. So we're highlighting key elements within the UI, or within the IDE. Right? And I think even better, intelligent autocomplete. You can see us in one example here, actually making autocomplete suggestions based on tracing the data model in real time. It really adds to developer productivity. And for myself, I don't spend quite as much time developing as you guys do on the platform. It's a lifesaver. It reminds me of those things that I should have remembered and I've forgotten. Script version history. So now all scripts are versioned. You can compare any 2 versions of a script. You can see who made the changes, like who introduced that bug on your team, et cetera. You can look at comments on those versions. And this works whether you're working solo or whether you have team create and collaborative editing on. It can work either way. So skin meshes. We introduced skin meshes last year. Here, Lil Nas X concert was like our first big use of this, like at massive scale, right? And then also, sorry, they just changed my slide on me there. Anyway, so we had a bunch of items we're using skin meshes everywhere. It's available to all of you. And you're going to see that's the basis for a lot of the other tech we're building around better avatars, layered clothing, and so on. So with that, we're going to move on to what we didn't promise we'd ship, but we did it anyway. Stuff we weren't thinking about last year, and now we're there. So custom pivot points. Very straightforward, but really makes life a lot better. Whenever you're manipulating models, you can move the pivot point where you want to be and manipulate that model. Height maps 2. Little bit of a story here. What we had with height maps before, we heard from you just wasn't what you wanted. It didn't do the job for you. So now we have a version with instant iteration. Height maps are generated immediately without having to import as an asset and wait for moderation. And also it supports up to 16 bits and 4K images. Generating terrain is no longer hollow, so it's just, we think, a much better improvement. I hope you guys all enjoy that one. And instance attributes. It's exactly what it sounds like, kind of a straightforward concept, but one we didn't have. We needed a better way to create and expose custom properties for instances, be able to create endorsed models or demos that were easily tunable and usable by others. We have a vision of moving to a lot more sharing of assets across the platform, and this is just critical for that sort of customization. So UI stroke really just allows customizable outline that can be applied to any text border of any UI object. We also have a rich text tag that allows you just to do that on any string in the system. You like that one? OK, good. You know, Gamepad is something you'll hear a bunch from folks about over the next few days. A lot of UIs are just built with a desktop in mind, and that makes it tough on a gamepad. So this is a mouse-like cursor for gamepads that provide easier UI navigation, especially when there's complex, kind of desktop-oriented UIs. And leaderboards on mobile, we didn't have them before, we do now. You know, so like, what more can I say on that one? Endorsed asset packs. So we wanted to make it easier to take advantage of some of our new tech, and just easier to get started and build something that looked really good right off the bat. So we've endorsed some asset packs for a city park, inviting forest, the park, and Cinti Showcase. So those are available to everyone. And better clouds. This also just went out this week, right? So the idea here, continue to improve our clouds. We've now added this internal shading right here. And like I said, it just went live on Monday. Ability to find and replace all within Studio. Now also live. Whenever you update any script, your search results changed instantly. Makes it much easier to navigate your experience, particularly as they get big and complex. And Studio, now in Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, 3 really important languages. We have hundreds of thousands of monthly users from these countries that speak these languages, and now they get Studio localized in their language, which I think is really key. We're going to have a focus overall on global, both on the developers who are global and working worldwide really well. And with that, that takes us latency improvements. This is not a feature you probably see each and every day, but we're continuing to build out the Roblox cloud and where it's located geographically. Over the past year, we've dropped additional capacity in North America, and that North America capacity really helps South America as well, in Europe and in Asia. Some of the impacts here, in Japan, we dropped our ping time from like 75 milliseconds down to 35. And also, Egypt, as an example, we dropped from 160 to 100 milliseconds. And the reason we're so focused on this latency is we've seen consistently improved latency means improved engagement, which means more people in experiences and more people on Roblox. So you're going to see a continued focus for us on just covering the globe with great latency. Dave talked before about the open cloud, and this is just going to be a big multi-year push for us. What was traditionally, it used to be traditionally a tight coupling between Studio and our backends. We're just breaking that whole thing open and exposing as much as we can. So we're looking to create an ecosystem then where we get third-party tools can work directly in there. You can share those tools. You can sell those tools. It's just yet another creator forum within Roblox. So our first step in this is the API keys. You need to be able to authenticate securely when you're doing this sort of work. And the first API we've created is this place publish. Basic, but it gives you a lot of power. So you're allowed to take a place file, publish it up to Roblox programmatically without having your Roblox security key involved. I'm pretty excited about where this is going. And bubble chat. So animated transitions, many more customization items, unique bubble styles per user, just extra nice touch in your experiences. Display names. This actually started with some efforts we were doing outside the US, particularly in China, but we found it useful overall. You can customize how you appear in-game while keeping your Roblox ID. And two-step verification. So another big theme for us will always be security. It's not something that's ever going to be done. It's important. We got to make it better. Without trust in the platform, you can't have trust in what you're doing. So unfortunately, just password protection, particularly for key accounts, is just not safe enough in a lot of cases. So we've introduced two-step verification. It helps protection, particularly in what we've launched when we see a notable movement of Robux over a short period of time, it just kicks in. It helps protect there. We're also in beta with authenticator apps like a Google Authenticator and Authy, so that we can even go a step further on that protection, not just using email or phone. Near real-time avatar recommendations are exactly what they sound like. You can see here you click on an avatar marketplace item, you're working with it. A few minutes later, what you're going to see in avatar is going to get personalized about how you're operating and just give you a much better set of items to pick up on. That allows creators to get in front of their audience, we think, much, much faster. OK, now there's a few items that we didn't ship. So let's jump right into those. Material libraries. So this was a misfire on our part. We were so excited about the cool new materials we can give you guys. We introduced something that would have been a breaking change. So we've backed up. We're redoing it. We still want to get these materials in your hands, but we're going to roll it out soon, but in a way where there isn't a breaking change and it's easier no work to stay with the classic Roblox materials. So we don't want to break you as we give you a great new capability. So we're just doing this right. RealTime CSG, just a lot of work. It's currently in studio in beta. We want to roll live by the end of Q4 in beta and then get it in-game as well, so you can have real-time initial manipulation of objects right in-game. And then in-game video. This is something we've been really excited about for a while. We had initial experience working where we've tested this out with experiences we've helped build, Lil Nas X, Gucci Gardens. We're working to generalize it and targeting next year to put it in everyone's hands. Mobile haptics, still something we're focused on. This one just honestly got deprioritized so we could do some of the other things I just showed you. And asset sharing and privacy. This was another place where we said, hey, we got to take a step back. We really want to put much better privacy and security on your assets so they don't get discovered by others unless that's what you intend to have happen. We looked at our back and said, we just got to rework this whole thing. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is going to happen. It's just happening a little bit slower because we're going back to the drawing board on it. And remote debugging is a similar one, just like that. So our goal was to have a Lua debugger that could sync up with a separate studio instance or a mobile device. We looked at that model, and it was getting really, really complex on, well, when you have a breakpoint, what gets paused, what doesn't get paused, what keeps running. So we're reworking the model. We're rethinking it. It's going to be a focus for the next year. And cloud scripts, again, something we still very much wanted to do. I know you're excited about these, but we just didn't get to it this year. OK, so with that, this is my favorite part of the talk, where I get to talk about the cool stuff that is going to come up next year, right? As CTO, this is where I live and breathe every day. So I'm going to touch on a bunch of cool features. Some of them, I think, kind of go beyond features. They're going to be kind of revolutionary changes to the platform. Dave touched on some of these in his talk as well. OK, so first, I just want to start with aerodynamics, right? So this is very cool. And before Dave said, oh, I saw the demo, well, now you've seen the demo of the helicopter too, OK? So how's that? You can build objects and use the power of our physics engine to have proper aerodynamic behavior with this. So that helicopter, that's the one Dave was talking about, just using proper geometry and motors for the rotors makes it fly. I just find, like, I can geek out on this all day long. I think it's just fantastic and goes to the power of our engine. You can also use this, build airplanes or even just improve the traction of a fast-moving car the way we do in the real world by just the aerodynamics of the car and pushing it into the pavement. So really cool stuff. Rail constraints and splines, just a really good way of making it easier to build trains, mine carts, roller coasters with a lot of support for curves and all sorts of shapes in there. Breakable welds for people who want to cause destruction and mayhem, right? The idea here is, you all know what it is, but under force, things can break and fall apart. Items falling down, flying away, but also some cool ideas like imagine a rope that if you weigh too much and you jump on it, it snaps in half, right? All these sorts of things can happen with breakable welds. Group transparency. So be able to take a group of UI elements, right? And then play with the transparency as a unit. I don't think I need to say more. The demos show it all. OK, so I just mentioned before, we heard you last year. We gave you 24 more fonts. But here's the problem. That's about as much as we can reasonably pack into the client without continuing to bloat that thing. So what's the next step? It's streaming. You'll be able to go into the marketplace, select the fonts you want, and we'll stream them down with the experience as you need them. So that kind of pushes us towards we just need to get as many fonts in there in that marketplace, and you can use any of them that you want. There's going to be no limit on these. I mentioned Gamepad before. We're doing a really big upgrade to Gamepad UI navigation. We want you to be able to navigate to every button, no matter what your layout is, without the need for invisible buttons. We want intuitive next selection, so the highlight moves where you expect it to and doesn't disappear off screen or something. Much more robust support for selection groups, and automatically toggle off UI selection mode if there's no UI, so players don't get in some funky stuck mode. So expect to see that over the next year as well. I'm very excited about this one. New mesh importer. So we're unifying the avatar and the mesh importer into one easy new tool. It's going to support for huge scenes, kind of like what you see here. Scale is a big aspect on this. The triangle limit's being raised to 20,000 triangles, and we're adding automatic simplification so that big meshes just work rather than erroring out. So in this demo here, what you're seeing is we're importing with one click the Amazon Bistro test scene, and which was over 3 million polygons. So much easier to import that. So today, all your Lua scripts execute serially, right? Within one frame, one after the other. We're moving to parallel Lua, where you'll have the ability to put the scripts in parallel. That's going to enable a lot more performance and really help us take advantage of the incredible number of cores we're seeing both on client devices, but also in our data centers where the servers are just growing out of control. Allow us to apply a lot more capacity to any given game. That will give us some cool things, but I'm going to give you a quick demo here. There we go. So this was built by Maximum ADHD. It's basically infinite terrain generation through those parallel Lua scripts. And this video literally could go on forever and ever and ever here, right? So, and so that's kind of the parallelism, gives you a lot more you can do within a given frame and kind of give this real-time feel. OK. This one's a little abstract, but it's really important. It's going to be a big focus team. So speed is a feature in our minds. We want fast joins with hundreds of users, with experiences running at 30, 60, or 90 frames per second. We're starting a big, and it's going to be a multi-year effort to make our engine way more performant and way more intelligently scalable than it is today. So it's going to give a lot of wins for you along the way. There'll be some really easy ones to just get for free, like you're making your experiences faster if you do nothing, like faster math primitives or a better GUI system that just runs more quickly. We're also going to really focus on tools for the developers. We've heard from you guys loud and clear, I don't know my experience just slowed down. So we're going to give you the tools so you understand what's going on from a performance point of view right in your experience. We're going to add a new intelligent scaling system, provide sophisticated automatic optimization. So, for example, today, our engine might see that you have a lot of free memory, and it'll say, great, I'm going to stream in more instances, and next thing you know, your frame rate has really slowed down. Our goal is to make it so these systems are aware and actually talk to each other to optimize your performance overall. So expect to see a lot on this. I really wish I could have a graphic to show you on that, but that was the best we could do. It's all inside the engine. Spatial voice. So I'm going to give you a quick demo here.
Hey, Dan.
Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
What are you most excited about for your first RDC?
Well, I joined Roblox just about a month and a half before COVID hit. So what I'm most looking forward to is actually meeting our devs in person.
I'm sure they're going to be thrilled to meet you as well.
I think it's going to be an outstanding week. So that was Matt and I just doing a chat in game. But we've launched that. Dave talked about it. You expect to see a continued push as we try to open that up to more audiences. Okay. So modernizing Studio is going to be a big focus for you. I'm going to show you some of the things we're working on right now. It's going to be a continued thing we do. Here we're showing much more intuitive and better window docking, right? I know, we all want that. There's going to be a big focus on HDPI, just sharpening up our ability to display. You can see fuzzy and crisp, right? And that's going to be a big part of this. Here's kind of a before-after chart. It's a little bit subtle, but if you was on your display, you would definitely notice the difference. Everything just gets a lot crisper. And then now you can have plugins working on the script editor itself. So if you want to accelerate your coding with some smart wrappers, if you want to change the way completely you edit and their keystrokes and sort of editing, we have a demo up here with using Vim keystrokes instead of the traditional ones. So all this is possible with the script editor plugins. And I mentioned before the debugger, we're doing a complete rebuild of that. All the widgets are going to be written in Lua. It's going to be a really intuitive user experience. We're going to improve watch points with much better display of variables and values and types, better breakpoints, better log point watching, and a call stack that lets you see all your threads at once. And with this, we're going to move to a model with distributed, with remote devices and so on, where we're going to be bringing in a lot of context for where those programs are at. You're going to be able to get a lot of telemetry off them and understand what those devices are doing. So expect a big push on this year. It's a really ambitious plan. I hope we get it all done very soon. Accurate platform emulation. It's exactly what it sounds like. Sounds straightforward, kind of tricky to do. So here you see a high-powered device, lower-powered device showing the same scenes, but you as a developer can understand what is this going to look like, because devices vary. You may have a lot of iPhone 12s running in the US. It's going to be very different in India. You want to have an idea how your experience is going to be consumed. So I mentioned assets before. This is one slide, and not a particularly exciting one at that, to be fair, but this is going to be a big redo that's going to affect almost everything at Roblox. We're redoing the entire basis for assets on the back end, and with that, packages. It's going to be way more secure. It's going to scale far better. It's going to give us a much better platform for enhancements in the future, so we'll be able to go faster with this. We're also going to open up what is an asset, and it's going to include things like code libraries, facial animations, anything you might want to manipulate, share, reuse, et cetera, within the system. So very excited about this, but it's going to be all on the back end. Open Cloud, coming back to some of the ways we're going to grow that in the next year. One of the first next APIs to roll out is OAuth 2 support. This is going to enable you to give permissions on behalf of a user to access things within the system and do that securely. So an example might be, let's say, if you're building your own help desk, and that can request and get access to something in data stores for player save info on behalf of developers. So it allows you to scale the way you help and manage your community. kind of an obvious one, but we want to give you API key access to data stores so you can build tools that help work with your data offline. And that asset management redo I'm talking about, we want to give you the ability to do everything with API keys, kind of CRUD type access to them. So create, read, update, delete, anything within there, again, so you can build tools offline to help that go really smoothly and manage your large experiences. Overall, our goal for the year is to try to take on every reasonable surface within Roblox on the back end and make that available through API keys so your options are limitless. We do want your feedback on how we prioritize that. And with that, we're going to post a survey to the dev forum, so please keep an eye out for that and give us your feedback on which APIs you need most urgently opened up. OK, latency improvements. Our plan for this year, we're dropping a lot of capacity into South America, into Southeast Asia, into Australia, New Zealand. All really important because we have so many users there and such engaged communities. We want to get the latency there where it should be. So drop that. Our general goal, we tend to think about, want everything below 200 milliseconds where we can. Our plan, dominate the world, be everywhere, right? And have that latency be universal. So universal app. We're bringing what we call our universal app to all platforms. This means a structure similar to what we have for iPhone and Android, but it's going to be kind of the same sort of thing on all platforms. It's going to be a common code base, and that allows us to get those latest updates out to every platform very quickly. We're launching on Windows first, and we should expect Mac and UWP to follow up shortly in 2022. So really excited for this. We're not going to have this problem where the web looks old and we're different from what's on mobile. Let's get a lot more capability out there very quickly. And layered clothing. We talked about this before. I think it's very cool. Dave talked about the possibilities. It's one of my favorite features because I really want a lot of customization of my avatar. So this is going to allow an explosive amount of customization, and it's really that combinatoric. So what's magic about this is you can take any body, any items, and just bring them together any way you want. And then this all comes together here with this demo. Let's see if we can get the sound.
Animation being driven live from video and voice inputs. So in the future, you'll be able to drive your avatar from your head movements, facial expressions, and lip sync with your voice. Bye.
So what's going on there is really a combination of our layered clothing, our spatial voice, and this new dynamic heads concept. So dynamic heads, for start, is going to give you a lot more emotes on faces, and it's going to work across all sorts of heads, all sorts of avatars. But then you saw there with a member of my team doing the demo that it was voice tracking as well. Your lips move, the sound goes with the way your lips are moving. And then even your facial and head tracking. You saw his head would move, the avatar would move at the same time. So adding a whole these features together, adding a whole level of reality and expressiveness into the Roblox platform. So we may not get everything you saw there done in 1 year. My engineering team really wanted me to stress that point. But this is a huge push for us. And I think it's going to really explode the platform. So with that, thank you very much. I know that was a lot to consume. We're all stuck at home with COVID. We had a lot of coding to do. So I hope you're as excited with where the platform's going as I am. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you on the floor over the next few days. Thank you very much.